Hi everyone, and thanks for clicking. My name is Hamam Alduri and I'm a resident of Abington, and I regularly participate in campaigns undertaken by Jenkintown and Abington Neighbours Association, or JANA for short. JANA is a grassroots organisation run exclusively by residents of Abington and Jenkintown that prioritises and advocates for walkability, bikeability, transit-oriented infrastructure, and more family-friendly neighbourhoods that foster strong community relationships. We regularly host meetings, social events, and run a website that allows residents to raise concerns about our townships. If you'd like to learn more about our work, you can visit our website and join our mailing list. The address is www.jenkintownabington.org, and just follow the link to the mailing list. If you'd like to communicate directly with us, you can email us at info@jenkintownabington.org. As I just mentioned, JANA is an issue-based resident-run organisation. One of the issues we've been working on over the course of the last couple of months is in connection to the proposal for conditional use for 610 Old York Road. In the following presentation, you will learn some of the key concerns our neighbours have of the site plan, as well as some suggestions for what we believe to be improvements to the plan. Taking us through the presentation is Trevor Lee. Trevor is a fellow resident of Abington and a partner at the landscape architecture firm Olin Studio. But before I pass it on to Trevor, I just want to make two more points. First, I want to stress that the content of the presentation is based purely on our interpretation of the site plan that was made available to us at the end of June. We have not spoken with the developer and owner of 610 yet, and have only met with Jenkintown Planning Commission once to express our concerns and ideas through an earlier iteration of this presentation. Second, JANA has put together a survey that solicits residents' thoughts about the site plan. Please reach out to info@jenkintownabington.org if you'd like to receive the survey. I will now pass it on to Trevor.
My name is Trevor Lee. I am a resident of Noble Village. I live on Upland Avenue. I'm also a member of the Jenkintown Abington Neighborhood Association. Within the slide deck, there is an annotated site plan provided by the applicant, site context analysis, 3 key concerns that we have as a neighborhood, suggested modifications to the plan, and a summary. The site plan provided by the applicant for 610 Old York Road, we have interpreted this plan to the best of our ability. We have not yet met with the applicant, so we may have gotten some things incorrect. We will be meeting with the applicant soon. So these annotations in red, blue, and the black labels are our annotations and not part of the original plan. So we understand that there is a central ingress-egress off of Spring Avenue, perhaps a secondary ingress-egress off of 611 at Madeira Avenue, opposite Madeira Avenue. There are 22 parking spaces, 2 ADA spaces, and 13 stacked vehicular drive-through spaces. These streets, represented in orange within Noble Village, may see increased levels of vehicular traffic as a result of this proposed development. Noble Village is a quiet neighborhood with young families, a lot of young children, and it's a neighborhood that we all love, and that's why we live here, and that's why we purchased our homes in this neighborhood. This site is zoned Gateway Commercial, and it's zoned that way to protect the quality and character and values of the adjacent neighborhoods. It also provides regulations that minimize congestion and hazardous traffic conditions. The intersection of Spring Avenue, Rodman Avenue, and 611 is a very difficult intersection for those traveling on Spring Avenue, no matter how many cars, even if it's just one car going down Spring Avenue, meeting Rodman, it's very challenging to turn left. So Spring Avenue is already a nearly impossible, difficult road to get onto 611 from today. There are many negative impacts of drive-throughs to adjacent residential neighborhoods. They are magnets of traffic and congestion. They also lead to further additional accidents, and they contradict the environmental and livability goals of many communities. So many small communities throughout the country are banning drive-throughs through zoning restrictions throughout the country. As I said, many cities are banning drive-throughs to halt climate change and also to reduce congestion within their neighborhoods. So there's very little benefit to drive-throughs from the community perspective other than increased tax base and, of course, benefits for the business and for the owner of the property. Not very many benefits for the community. The shared boundary between Jenkintown and Abington is on Spring Avenue. So Spring Avenue essentially is split in half for these 270 feet represented in red. This is a shared ownership, and that's why the ingress-egress is able to be achieved here within this portion of Spring Avenue. As I said, the intersection at Spring Avenue is already almost impossible to navigate for one car. With an egress from a drive-through and parking spaces to the degree to which this is a proposal, Spring Avenue will become an impossible intersection to navigate. Those who live on Spring Avenue between Center and Rodman will be trapped in their homes. They won't be able to leave in a car with the traffic during the day. The intersection at Rodman, Spring, and 611 is wholesale insufficient for this level of traffic. And we do understand that there could also be an ingress-egress opposite Madeira Avenue, but that would not be the primary access to this business. This is a view of Spring Avenue looking at the existing curb cut into the new proposed development site. On the left-hand side of this view, you can see the split in ownership with this yellow line, Jenkintown on the left, Abington on the right. As you approach this stop sign, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to turn left. You can see that there's already a vehicle, this black SUV, straight ahead, which one vehicle on Rodman already makes it impossible to turn left. So you have to wait at the stop sign for the light to change. So it's already a very difficult intersection, as I mentioned. This is the other entrance into the Jenkins storage area and also into the future development site. This is opposite Madeira Avenue. And so we feel that this is most likely not a main entrance or egress because you can't see the business from here. However, it's available as a secondary. A drive-through of this size, so close to a residential neighborhood, is going to produce lots of extra noise. The decibel level will be increased. There will be CO2 pollution in one central location immediately across the street from where children play. And this will produce a situation with an egress on the Spring Avenue where residents between Center Ave and Rodman Ave on Spring Avenue will not be able to access 611 from their home. They won't be able to exit and get to 611 with this amount of traffic. With an egress onto Spring Avenue from this proposed development, vehicles will not be able to go left. They will not be able to turn left, and they will become frustrated, and they will be forced to turn right on the Rodman, as is displayed here with this thicker red line. So I would argue that if there is an egress proposed onto Spring Avenue from this development, they will turn right onto Rodman. They will go immediately past a school bus stop, which creates a very hazardous and very dangerous situation with people moving very quickly, caffeinated, trying to get back to 611, and they'll go up Upland Avenue or other streets to return to 611. So it's creating a situation where the neighborhood is used as a throughway to get back to 611 from this development, which is not a good situation. This development will create a situation where cars will egress onto Spring Avenue from this proposed development. They will become frustrated that they're not able to get back onto 611 with that very difficult left. They will become stacked. There will be a backup, and then the first car in line will decide to make a right onto Rodman Avenue. They will pass the school bus stop in the morning, which is a very dangerous situation, and they will either go up Upland, Grove, or Noble Road to get to Rydell, and then get back to 611. So again, creating a throughway through the neighborhood, creating a situation that is not safe for the school kids, not safe for pedestrians. It's a increased noise level and just, increased traffic through a neighborhood that is currently very quiet and peaceful. And also it's not going to suit the business owner in any way to have the backup be at their location. So it's a bad situation for everyone involved. Walkability and mobility for the residents of Jenkintown and Abington and Noble Village should be considered. The ingress egress off of Spring Avenue creates a situation that's not safe for pedestrians to cross. Makes it very difficult for pedestrians to get to your business from the neighborhood. They'll have to walk up to 611. So a customized neighborhood access point from Spring Avenue would be much appreciated, and I think it would benefit the business ultimately. Also, bikeability, bicycle racks, bike parking would be fantastic, and also perhaps a larger area for outdoor cafe spaces. I think could also benefit everyone. So something to consider. The following slides make recommendations for changing and improving this site plan based on our understanding of it. This is the applicant's proposed site plan with annotations by us. We don't really see too many pros with regards to the traffic movement here. The cons are the drive-through curb cut on and ingress egress onto Spring Avenue. Public safety as a result of congestion, the integrity of our neighborhood, again with additional congestion of vehicles going through our neighborhood to return back to 611 or to access the site, frankly. It makes a very difficult intersection, or even more difficult on Spring Avenue for those who live on Spring Avenue. And the sound buffer, between the drive-through and the residents on the other side of Spring Avenue is very narrow and not sufficient. So there needs to be a much more robust approach to that visual and sound buffer if there is a drive-through anywhere near here. It needs to be thought of differently, we think. Modified Site Plan A shows a ingress only, no egress off of Spring Avenue, which we feel is a much improved option, although it's still not something that we're happy about, but it's an improvement. The drive-through shifted farther west and perhaps shortened a bit by a few cars, creating a much more robust buffer between the drive-through and the neighborhood across the street from Spring Avenue. We're still not happy about the drive-through, but this is a better situation. The buffer and barrier between the neighborhood and the drive-through is still, although it's improved here, still very much a concern with the neighbors across the street. And so here the egress is off of 611 opposite Madeira. So we feel that this is a subtle change, but a significant one in the moving in the right direction for an improved vehicular access and less congestion within our neighborhood. Modified Site Plan B is very similar to A. However, there is no drive-through, which of course is an improvement for noise and congestion, and there's also a pedestrian walkway connecting Spring Avenue to the coffee shop, which is a nice pedestrian connection and something that would be beneficial. And so here the ingress only is off of Spring Avenue. There is no egress. The egress would be opposite Madeira on 611. So this is a much improved with no drive-through. Modified site plan C removes the curb cut on Spring Avenue, so there is no ingress, there is no egress on the Spring Avenue. It keeps the drive-through, although it shifts it farther west, and it puts a curb cut onto 611, which we feel would be the ideal situation here for the business owner. We understand that it requires additional funds to create a new curb cut. We understand that. We understand that there's a grade change here. However, it's certainly within the realm of possibility to create a gently sloped curb cut at this location. We also understand that it would require a negotiation with PennDOT to achieve a curb cut on this state road. So certainly hurdles to get over, but ultimately a much better situation for the neighborhood and a much better situation for the business owner. So ingress egress off of 611 in this site plan C. This is modified site plan D. This is our preferred option. This has no curb cut, ingress, egress off of Spring Avenue. It has no drive-through. It has a curb cut on 611 for ingress, egress. And it moves the two businesses up against 611. I know that this is not the traditional way that developments happen anymore. It's always the parking as the front door with the building in the background. But if you look at the historic core of Jenkintown, in any community around here, the businesses were always up against the main street for pedestrian accessibility, and the parking was either on the street or it's behind the building. We feel that this is a much more urban, a much more pedestrian friendly, and a much better appearance from 611 too. You're not looking at a big sea of parking; you're looking at a building frontage. So it's a much more urban, progressive way to a kind of vintage, progressive way to do things, I think. And there's also a nice, healthy buffer and a pedestrian access from Spring Avenue. So this is our preferred option. We know that Starbucks, if that's the case, if Starbucks is the tenant here, we know that a drive-through is probably a necessity. However, we would really prefer not to see one for all the reasons we mentioned. Curb cuts exist near intersections all up and down 611. So to provide a curb cut on 611 at this development site that's proposed is certainly within the realm of feasibility given all the many dozens, if not hundreds, I don't know how many, of precedents there are. And you look no further to the Starbucks immediately across the street. And there is a curb cut on top of the intersection. So curb cuts near or, as part of the intersection is something that has tremendous precedent on 611. So not something that we feel would be a problem for you or for this development site to achieve. We don't believe that a curb cut ever should have been proposed or built onto Spring Avenue. I think that's something that was a mistake early on. Having a large business parking lot empty out onto a residential street was never a great idea. I think luckily this parking lot was probably never really used, so it didn't cause the problems that we're looking at potentially with this development. Again, a curb cut at this location immediately next to the intersection on 611 at the corner of this proposed site development is achievable. This is where the wall ends. There's a tree there, but it's a fairly gentle slope down. Just would require some excavation and grading, and then of course approval from PennDOT. So not as easy as the Spring Ave curb cut, which exists today. However, this would solve so many problems for our community if there is a curb cut as the main ingress egress off of 611 for this development. And if a curb cut at the intersection is not feasible, it's certainly also achievable to push the curb cut ingress egress for this proposed site development at 610 Old York Road 100 feet from the intersection, which is the typical distance for a curb cut. Yes, there's a little bit more grade, still workable. Yes, there's a wall there. You can break through it. Yes, it's going to cost more, and yes, it's going to require a PennDOT approval. But this is still a much, much better, much more realistic option from a traffic and integrity of our neighborhood perspective. This has to be done. There has to be a curb cut on 611. In summary, for us as a neighborhood, there are two big takeaways. Number one, we do not want to see a drive-through. We do not want to see this conditional use permit granted. We don't feel that, like many communities throughout the country that are coming to realize that drive-throughs are harmful for the environment, they're harmful for social cohesion of the neighborhood that they're in, they're harmful for congestion, they create more CO2, they're only beneficial from a owner, operator, and tax revenue base for the community. There is no other benefit. It's simply about revenue generation, and it doesn't put the neighborhood, the community first. So we don't think it should be granted. And secondly, if there is a development here with that many parking spaces, there absolutely cannot be an egress, nor should there be an ingress off of Spring Avenue. It has to be off of 611. That's what 611 is for. 611 is a busy road. It's a state road. It can handle this. Spring Avenue can in no way, shape, or form handle this traffic. It can't handle the traffic that's on there today. So these are the two big takeaways that we have for the applicant for this development. There's certainly a lot of details to work out. There are a lot of other things that we'd like to see, pedestrian access, a better buffer, other modifications that we may request down the road. But these are the two big ones: no drive-through, no conditional use permit granted, and absolutely no ingress or egress off of Spring Avenue. Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor. Once again, if you'd like to learn more about our work, please do not hesitate to reach out. Our email address is info@jenkintownabington.org. We very much look forward to hearing from you or seeing you at one of our upcoming events. Thanks for watching.